Hey guys, it's your boy 14 Fluffies here. I'm bringing you another YGOPro deck profile. I'm thinking this is probably going to be a weekly thing now. I'm going to try and get a YGOPro deck profile up at least once every week, if not more than once every week. I want to be a little bit more consistent about what I upload my deck profiles, since apparently you guys like my deck profiles, so I'll keep providing them. So this time we have Brilliant Volcanics, a deck I've been testing out and I kind of like, but still tweaking. Man, this is where I kind of am with the deck right now. So we have the triple volcanic rocket. Obviously, it gets your blaze accelerators and it gets the whole deck started. Basically, you always want to open with rocket for the most part, unless you open with accelerator or multiple accelerators. Basically. We have the triple scatter shot for nuking the opponent's field. It is very subpar if you have to use scatter shot during your turn. But it works when it puts in work when it needs to. That's all I'll have to say about him. We got the triple shell, the card that nobody loves to draw, but you kind of need. But in this build, it's not quite that horrible to draw Shell, considering how we are playing, Twin Twister and stuff. And, yeah, Shell's kind of good to discard for Twin Twister, so there is that. And normally we always want to send Shell to the graveyard for Brilliant Fusion, so it doesn't really even matter if you open with Shell, because you'll always have a way of getting Shell into the graveyard somehow or another. And for the final three of monsters, we're playing the triple Firestorm guards. Normally, triple Firestorm would be pretty cloggy, but because we're playing a build with Brilliant Fusion, we can get Pyros into the graveyard much faster, and I just never see Firestorm guards enough when I play two copies of it, so I was just like, fuck it, I'm maxing out, just so I can see that as much as possible. Sure, there are times where, you open with two of these things and they're incredibly dead, but that's just what happens. I mean, like, this deck is far from, opens perfectly. I mean, it's far from super consistent. I mean, it's not as bad as Monarchs, though, where you can get completely unplayable hands, but it's not perfect. And and next up we have two Masked Chameleon. This is we played this just because Scattershot and Shell both have 0 defense, as well as obviously Garnet, which is our Brilliant Fusion target. Yeah, because that has 0 defense, and obviously you can make rank 4 plays with it. You can go into Omega. This gets you to your Armatis, and this gets to Red Wyvern. Not to mention, you can also trigger Scattershot off of Masked Chameleon when it's sent to the graveyard for a Synchro Summon. You could burn your opponent for 500 off of using this as Synchro material. So that's nifty. You can't trigger. Obviously can't trigger Scattershot's effect to nuke the board because it has to be set by a Blaze Accelerator card. But yeah, Masked Chameleon has a fairly decent amount of synergy with the deck, which is why I'm even bothering running it. And plus, it does help open up more plays, which is something that Volcanics kind of don't really have a lot of, in my opinion. And for the spells, we have, of course, triple Brilliant Fusion. You always want to open with this card. It's really good. Because even though we're not playing Seraphinite, we're playing Citrine. Yeah, my bad. It's really just using it to load up the graveyard for Firestorm guards, and just to get the Blaze Accelerator engine started. But yeah, this card is phenomenal when used in that manner, and that's why you want to play it as 3 of, so you see it turn 1. And following up with the Brilliant Fusions, we have 3 copies of Instant Fusion. I mean, these, like, if you open with these 2 in the opening hand, it's just stupid good. Because you could obviously go Brilliant Fusion, don't Garnet and Shell. You get to summon Citrine. You can activate Shell to add another Shell from your deck. Then you can activate your Instant Fusion, get your Norden, special summon out your Garnet from graveyard, overlay for King of the Feral Imps, detach the Garnet, search your Masked Chameleon, and you kind of went just went +2 right there. And obviously you still have your normal summon as well. So if you have like Rocket on top of that, that's just too good, because then you obviously have a live Blaze Accelerator. Tripping over my words, I apologize, but yeah, you kind of see where this is going basically. it's combo-licious. For the next spell we're running triple Twin Twister for back row hate. This deck can discard very easily. Discard fodder, this deck has a lot of it. Shell is obviously the best discard fodder, just because you can just search out another shell after you discard for it. So yeah, so Twin Twister is obviously a shoo-in for this deck, and it's too advantageous not to play. And we're playing triple Upstart Goblin just because it helps us get to our combo pieces faster. Normally these would be dualities, but because we're playing a build with Brilliant Fusion, duality isn't really that good in this deck. Same thing with cards like Lose One Turn. Because we're playing a variant that special summons a lot more, we kind of have to forego those cards that would probably hurt our opponent more. I mean, Duality is a consistency card, but obviously Lose One Turn is just a great card this format as well. But you know, this build just can't accommodate them, unfortunately. And for the last spell, we had the One Raigeki. For the traps, we got the obligatory Triple Blaze Accelerator Reload. Obviously, this is what gets the deck's engine going. It's what makes this deck playable. So, yeah. And just the fact that this deck has so much draw power is just phenomenal, because obviously you can get to your combo pieces, you can get to a lot of back row really easily. You can also get to Firestorm Guards pretty easily if you're lucky like that, but I'm never lucky and I never see Firestorm Guards when I need it, so yeah, that's just my luck though. And next up we got Triple Strike. These would be Fiendish Chains, but because Fiendish Chain isn't that good this format, I decided not to run them. And if I was running 3 Fiendish Chain, I would probably consider Magic Planners, but with only 6 targets for 3 Magic Planners, it's iffy. I mean, if I was playing other Floodgates, then definitely Magic Planner all the way. I mean, screw Upstart. Magic Planner would just be better because you can get your reloads into Graveyard. You can use dead Fiendish Chains. If the Vanities is dead, you can get rid of it with that, you know, yada yada. But if you're playing more Floodgates, you know, then I would consider, like, if we were playing Call of the Haunted as well, that would be a thing. I'm not playing Call of the Haunted in this build. I don't necessarily know if I don't necessarily like it in Volcanics, really. Because we are playing the Brilliant Fusion. I mean, you could Brilliant Fusion does kind of promote Call of the Haunted a bit as well, just because, you know, you could theoretically send Rocket for Citrine, but yeah, this deck is still very much so in development. Any suggestion that you guys have in the comments, I'm willing to listen to and try out. Just because I'm testing this on YGOPro. I don't play this on Dueling Network all that much. I normally play decks on Dueling Network that I've already tested thoroughly and am comfortable playing. So yeah, there's that. But next up for the continuing with the trap lineup, we have 2 Time Space Trapple. We are playing Rafflesia, so obviously this is one of the better targets for Rafflesia, considering how, you know, it's Volcanics and they can't really play Treacherous because obviously you want to get this into the graveyard as quickly as possible. So yeah, we also have a bottomless for our 3rd Rafflesia target. It's kind of like my philosophy in Heroes, because these are kind of the 2 best trapples available at the moment. Trapple Nightmare's decent, but I'm not a big fan of it this format. I mean, it's great against, like, Dark Destroyer and all that stuff, but that Dark Destroyer is still going to trigger, which, I mean, just Time Space Trapple is just better at answering, you know, answering Cosmo in general. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, against Monarchs, this card's dead as all hell, and this one occasionally, like, if I'm against Monarchs, I'm actually just going to side all 3 of these out. But yeah, that's not relevant, really. I mean, Monarchs are still a really good deck, but I'm getting off topic here. And for the other one, I also got the one Torrential, the Vanities, and the Warning. I'm not sure how I feel about Torrential anymore. I'm thinking about maybe dropping the Torrential and maybe Bottomless for 2 copies of either the Huge Revolution is Over or Magic Drain, just because Twin Twisters is a bitch. And it's just like, you need to be able to stop those cards. Yeah, Twin Twister is such a blowout for decks like this. I mean, if they hit, like, Reload or something, you really don't care about it. But yeah, But if your opponent knows you have a reload set, chances are they're not going to take the chance of hitting that reload and then you just scattershotting them. So yeah. So there is that, I guess. I mean, Twin Twister is still a very big problem from the deck, just because, you know, they could still hit all these cards, and they would still just gain advantage from there on out. But, yeah, the Twin Twisters is a hard card to play around if you're not specifically maining ways of countering it. So, yeah, but that's the main deck. For the extra deck, we obviously have the Citrine and the 2 Norden for your Brilliant and Instant Fusion targets, respectively. We have the one Cyframe Lord Omega. This is for, well, getting your reload back into the graveyard and abusing it as much as possible. I mean, I've never pulled it off, but but the possibilities of it is too good not to pass up, basically. We have one Red Wyvern. This is, I feel like this card's like the best level 6, generic level 6 synchro in the game available currently. I mean, because these are fire, we obviously don't have access to cards like Naturia Beast or Barkion. I mean, if I played Swift Scarecrow, I could have the potential for Nat Beast, just because Mask Chameleon is an Earth tuner, and Swift Scarecrow is an Earth non-tuner with 0 defense that happens to be a level 1. So I could theoretically make Nat Beast with that, but because I don't main Swift Scarecrow, I'm obviously not going to even attempt to main Nat Beast. So yeah, we have the Red Wyvern. It's non-targeting destruction, which is very nice. So obviously, it could out Dark Destroyer and stuff like that, but it's not going to stop them. It's not going to stop the things. It's not going to stop the ships from floating, but it will get rid of them. So at the very least, you don't have to stare down a Dark Destroyer. You can just stare down a Forerunner, which isn't better necessarily, but it's not dark. It is better, but not very much. I'm just going to say it like that. And we obviously have the Armades. This could easily be switched out for a High-Speed or Chambara. I just prefer Armades. That's just my preference. But I didn't say that Armades and High-Speed Chambara are probably the two you'd want to run, since obviously we can't use Nat Beast. And Ally Catastor is just a joke now. I mean, yeah. But, yeah. But really, it could be any good generic level 5 synchro that you guys would think of playing, really. And for the Exceeds, we got the Utopia and the Utopia the Lightning. Obviously, Utopia the Lightning is just, for Cosmo, that card just completely wrecks them. It's also good for just poking for game, because he can go up to 5,000, and, you know, he beats over pretty much everything. All the decks that want to make towers, well, quote, towers, you know, like Super Quantums, or Raid Raptors, when they get Ultimate Falcon, this card answers them. I mean, Super Quantums could theoretically just spin back Utopia, but yeah, this card would be able to out them if it wasn't for Magnus being able to spin back monsters during either player's turn. So yeah, but Ultimate Falcon, this card gets over it super easily. So yeah, this deck cannot care less about Ultimate Falcon thanks to Utopia the Lightning. Next up, we have the one King of the Feral Imps, just because it helps you search out your Masked Chameleons. Number 101, Silent Honor Arc, it's a staple. Castel, staple. 1 Daigusto Emerald. I debate whether or not I want to bump this up to 2 or not. 1 seems perfectly fine to me. But, yeah. I don't know. Like, I feel like this extra deck is a little bit tight now that I'm running Utopia the Lightning, just because you have to dedicate 2 spots to it. And considering how I'm running a lot of staples in here, yeah, I don't know how I feel about an Emerald at 1, but I kind of don't have room for 2 Emerald. Next up, we have the Abyss Dweller for Cosmo, Burning Abyss, all those other decks that like to use their graveyard. So yeah, you can just, especially considering how we are playing Norden, Abyss Dweller is just super good. Especially considering how you could just scattershot them and then chain Dweller to scattershot, and then all their monsters will die and won't trigger. So yeah. There's that. We got the 1 Cowboy for game. Normally I would not play Cowboy in anything, but I feel like you need Cowboy in this deck, because you leave your opponent with solo life a lot. With the burn, between the burn from Scattershot and then poking with things like Rocket or Firestorm Guards, just being able to Cowboy for game if you top deck like Instant Fusion is just... It happens a lot more often than I would imagine it would initially that I thought, so... Yeah, I do play the Cowboy just because he actually does put in a lot of work. And for the last 6C, we are playing the Traptrix Rafflesia, just because we are, of course, maining the 2 time space and the bottomless. And it's just too good not to play, really, in almost everything. So yeah, that's the extra deck. For the side deck, triple Maxi for the Burning Abyss matchup, and, you know, well, mainly for Burning Abyss, but just a lot of decks that like to spam, just side in the Maxis, and just not care about what they do. Next up, double Veiler. I didn't really know if I wanted to either drop Veiler or bump it to 3. I just didn't know what I would cut for the 3rd Veiler. I mean, I kind of want to keep Maxi at 3 because I kind of consider Burning Abyss a harder matchup than Cosmo. But, it's hard to say, really. I mean, I don't know. I want to put the 3rd Veiler. I'm not sure if I will. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with it at 2, but we'll see. And we got 3 copies of System down for Cosmo. And really, this card's just outrageously good against them. We don't really need... Iron Wall's just not good against Cosmo. Not to mention, you don't want Iron Wall in this deck either because it does stop your reload. So yeah, you don't want Iron Wall and Volcanics, and really nothing... There's really nothing else that's good to side against Cosmo anymore anyway. So yeah, we got the triple Mask of Restrict from Monarchs. No need to explain that. We have the double Light Mirror for Cosmo. I really like Light Mirror versus Cosmo just because it doesn't stop Dark Destroyer and Wicked Witch, but it does stop everything else in the deck. It stops Farm Girl, Good Witch, Tin Can, Slip Rider, Forerunner, all that stuff. And not to mention, it also negates their effects in the graveyard, so their light ships can no longer float under Light Mirror, which is very, very crucial. So yeah, that's why I really am liking Light Mirror over a lot of other cards that would be sighted in for Cosmo. I really want to get a set of Light Mirrors for my heroes for regionals. I just don't have the money right now to purchase them. I'm hoping I can trade for a set before regionals, but if I don't, oh well. And lastly, we got the 2 Shadow Mirrors for Burning Abyss, heroes, Fandom Knights. You know, Dark is coming back in fashion now just because mainly of Phantom Knights. I mean, it also is very great against Raid Raptors. There are just so many Dark decks in the meta right now. It's just, you really need to have the Shadow Mirrors to interrupt your opponent's plays. So yeah, that's the deck. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. I'm iffy about this deck still. I'm still testing it, still tweaking. I feel like there's still a lot of room for improvement. I feel like this deck is very much so unpolished, but I'm liking how it's going so far. I mean, I'm loving Masked Chameleon in the deck. I'm loving it as attack. I'm thinking about maybe adding, I don't know, cards like Night Dragolich to it as well, just to add more of an anti-meta aspect of it. Obviously, I could throw in Thunder King at any given point. I mean, considering how Shell and King of the Feral Imps are the only cards that search for the most part, and Rocket, but those are only 3 cards that search in the deck, and, you know, that splashing in a TK wouldn't hurt that, really. I mean, obviously this departs from the traditional Volcanic builds that are strictly anti-meta, but I'm liking how this goes, how this deck is going. So tell me what you guys think in the comments about this build. Like and comment and all that stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next video.